All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Backbase webinar. Today we're in the first webinar of 2014 and we're going to talk about the digital trends in banking for 2014. First of all, of course, thank you for joining. My name is Jelmer Jong and I'm here together with Jouk, Pleiter, CEO and co-founder of Backbase. And today, of course, as you used to, you're going to use the GoToMeeting panel to ask questions in this webinar. So there will be a Q&A during the sessions and afterwards. You can participate on Twitter with the hashtag Backbase, and we'll also be monitoring that for the Q&A. And as you are used to, the session will be recorded and the slides will be available within 48 hours, and you're free to share that with your co-workers and other interested parties.
Great. So, hello. Good morning. Good evening. Good afternoon. Today's topics. There's a lot of trends going on, so we basically had quite a challenge to select a few. So, for tonight, we would like to focus on a few key topics: omni-channel, CMO and CIO collaboration, how to make banking more relevant, and how to do fast experiments, and basically understanding what concept works and what concepts can be improved. So let's start with the first one, Jelmer, the omni-channel customer interactions. So maybe first it would be good to talk a little bit about the evolution of the channel. Initially, there was just a single channel, the branch. Then we moved into multi-channel, where the branches were complemented with internet and potentially mobile. And with cross-channel, the next phase is that actually how can we make sure that customers can actually have a safe journey between these different channels, where with multi-channel, the channels are still separate and fully isolated, so there's no cross-channel synergy. With cross-channel, basically the attempt is to kind of make it possible to interact between the different channels. And then finally, there's the omni-channel vision. And maybe this is a little bit too theoretical, but the idea behind omni-channel is to really put the customer at the center stage. So the customer is the central focus point. The channels are assisting the customer within different contexts, and the customer has an holistic brand experience.
Yeah, and I think you're looking at the current status quo. Every bank is, of course, already multi-channel. Next to the branch, there is online and there is the mobile app. I think most banks are currently at the stage moving from multi to cross, really enabling that cross-channel customer journeys, the seamless handover between channels.
Yeah, so if we look at a few of the, nobody will be surprised, but of course mobile banking is exploding. If we see at the growth on average in North America for online banking and we compare that with mobile banking, the mobile banking adoption, of course, is exploding, and this is happening around the world, and I think we all know this. So let's move forward and kind of analyze a little bit further. What does this mean? What's the impact?
Mobile is, of course, quite different than regular channels. And I think one of the unique things why mobile is growing this quickly compared to online, and also the adoption grows that fast, is because one thing is simplicity. Mobile is great to use because it's so unbelievable simple to use. Instead of a big screen, you have a small screen that's always in your pocket, and you have a really intimate relationship with that device, and also with providers on that device.
Yeah, so basically, I guess, Jelmer, a bank in your pocket, the intimacy, the proximity, it's there. You basically can use it instantly. The bank is always with you. You don't have to go to the branch. You don't have to go to your desktop. It's directly in your mobile. So apparently, I guess that's kind of the main driver.
Simplicity, immediacy, but also the context that you are able to use. You're always able to use that device, and smart banks are also utilizing that context in smart ways.
I guess nothing new. So let's look at the trends and what does this mean?
Yeah, what of course we saw, and we're using the research of Google here, is that we always talk about cross-channel and multi-channel, but sometimes we're missing that sense of urgency. And if you're looking at this data, 90%, so almost everyone, uses multiple screens sequentially to accomplish a task over time. For example, looking at buying a car, they always start with the mobile device or the tablet and move to a regular computer, or start on a regular computer and then move to a tablet or a smartphone. If 90% is doing this cross-channel behavior in doing research, in buying stuff, in applying for new products, cross-channel must be at the top of the mind, and omni-channel even so.
Yeah, so I guess, of course, cross-channel, omni-channel already has been a topic for the last decade. But I guess with all these different new devices and these kind of contextual devices, now you will have an extra layer of challenge. How do we kind of facilitate seamless customer journeys between these different digital devices, right? Okay, a bit of data here. We all kind of browse the internet. So what are the top activities performed when sequentially screening is happening between these different devices? And again, this is research from Google. What's quite interesting here is, of course, there's social networking and shopping and searching and utilizing the internet, but also banking and managing your personal finances is there, even higher than planning a trip. So managing your finances is one of those top three activities that people do on a very regular basis. In some research, people already state that people use internet banking maybe twice or four times a month, where with mobile banking, it's already over 20 times a month. It's getting close to one time a day, especially for Gen Y people. So that means that interacting with the bank, especially via these smartphones, is almost becoming a daily activity. Quite interesting. So here you see a few examples. Typically, also these devices have a different they have different characteristics, and people start and tend to use them for different purposes. So, in general, we can conclude that PCs are still very relevant, but they are used for more complex activities, like planning a trip. But also managing your finances is still very up high there. As one of those kind of where the PC will continue to be relevant, especially if you have to manage more complex activities.
Yeah, what I like about this screenshot is that you see that 34% start on a PC or laptop,
Yeah,
and then 29% of that move to a smartphone while managing their finances.
interesting. So yeah, it's interesting. So another one is here if you start on your tablet. Tablets are kind of different, and especially apparently according to this Google research, the utilization of starting on a tablet and then switching to a smartphone or a PC is relatively low, right? So the tablet impact somehow it looks like it's kind of modest.
Yeah, especially here. I like that, of course, planning a trip jumps out, and that's normally something you do lying on your couch with your iPad and thinking about your trip to Hawaii. Of course, you do that on the iPad because you're in a relaxed phase. But normally, finance is either something very similar, serious, so you start with a regular computer,
Yeah.
or it's from something very quick. Oh, I need to start on my smartphone because I need to know how much money I have to do groceries.
Yeah.
So that in between mode is not really there.
So apparently, it's either the big screen or it's the ultra small screen, the smartphone that's kind of driving the highest utilization.
As you can see here, almost 60%, so 59% in managing financial services starts on the smartphone, then move to a PC, and only 3% moves to a tablet. So for financial services, it's either big screen or small screen, not yet the in-between screen.
What is also interesting is that apparently if you start on a smartphone, for a lot of people, apparently it's not possible to completely finish the journey. So they apparently, at least in many cases, more than 50%, they have to continue on a PC to finalize the process.
Yeah, and I can imagine why. Of course, if you're doing a big spend, you always want to have to double check that secure feeling, and you still feel more secure behind a big laptop. But also, if you do customer enrollment for financial services, sometimes the forms are just long and not mobile optimized, so the bank is forcing you to move to a traditional computer.
So I guess based on these data points, it's safe to conclude that a seamless customer journey is between these different devices.
And it's essential and wished for.
Yeah. So we cannot treat these devices as different channels, like the internet banking, the internet banking channel, the mobile channel. It's almost funny to call these things channels.
It's all about the customer. So it's one channel, it's the customer channel, and doesn't matter which device is being used.
Great, cool. All right, so another interesting picture and insight is that so apparently people have different behaviors and different patterns regarding the device. So apparently stuff like a desktop or a laptop is more focused. Stuff like apply for a mortgage, compare for a one case, etc. So the complicated stuff, apparently people still prefer to do it on the large screen. Some activities people prefer to do physically, like in the branch, and in other cases the tablet a little bit more casual, and a smartphone pretty much like a quick look up, like check my balance, make a quick payment, or check out my portfolio.
And I think most people will recognize this picture. Smartphone is always quick, everything you do there. Casual is always the iPad. Focused and actually, yeah, physical. You try to avoid the branch office as much as possible, maybe.
So if we think about trends, I guess Jelmer, also one of the challenges now is to how to utilize the different capabilities and benefits of these different devices within a, let's say, a customer journey, or people refer to this as service design. Apparently, they can all support a customer journey within basically from a different angle.
Yeah, for sure. Mobile banking doesn't mean you have to bring everything you have in internet banking to mobile banking.
Clear.
You really have to create a subset of things that fits perfectly in that smartphone status quo, that behavior on the smartphone.
Yeah.
And then also make sure that goes pretty right. And if it doesn't if it's not able to complete on that smartphone device, offer some handovers to other channels like regular browser without interrupting the overall flow.
Clear. So one of the key insights potentially is, and let's not try to get all the clutter and all the feature red race on all these different devices, but let's utilize the unique characteristics of the device and match that to the capabilities offered to the end customer.
Capabilities and of course end user behavior.
Yeah, clear. Great. Okay, so that brings us to the next slide, and this is about service design. And I guess now we understand that there is sequential screening, and we understand there is cross-channel customer journeys. A new concept that's already out there for a couple of years, but it will become almost more relevant every year, is the concept of service design. And service design is really designing the total process for, let's say, onboarding, or customer would like to perform activity X. How are the different channels going to collaborate together, and what are the different, let's say, journeys the customer can take between the different channels and between the different devices, and make it sure that basically the whole process from checking a rate, selecting a product, applying, getting assisted up to signature, and actually utilization and self-service capabilities. How can we do service design to really think from a customer-centric point of view how the different devices and the different channels, that is both digital and as well brick and mortar, how they can actually enforce each other, and how can we make it a seamless brand experience?
Yeah, the customer has one goal. They want to close that loan application, and in that his process, it's not more than natural that he's using multiple channels. And if there's no seamless handover, he's going to get frustrated and maybe move to a competitor that offers a more seamless experience.
I guess the weakest link here, and doing an analysis on the weakest link, is probably kind of useful, because if something will break in this process, and only one mistake here, that will create a bad experience. So I guess with service design, it's also really make sure that you can have a great experience on a single device, but if then as part of the journey, the next station, the next step in the process is horrible, then overall the customer experience is broken.
Really think about customer experience design, not about channel design or channel optimization.
So keep it simple, but a bit of a holistic perspective here might be very useful. Basically the weakest link can really be kind of spoiling the overall customer experience. All right, so if we then actually look back and basically look inside the bank, we all know this picture, I think also from previous Backbase webinars, but banks are not organized to kind of create these seamless customer journeys, unfortunately, because banks in many cases are still very product centric or business unit centric, and you see a lot of these kind of traditional silos type of organizational structures and even core systems. So I guess one of the key challenges is that we know that there's this omni-channel, this multi-device, this cross-channel kind of journey vision, and there's definitely that need. And companies like Apple and like Facebook and Netflix, they basically create a seamless customer experience. So how can banks catch up, given the reality of their underlying organizational structure and given the reality of their underlying core systems? So that brings us back to this picture. It's a little bit about the transition that is needed in banking from a bank 1.0 architecture into a bank 2.0 architecture. Traditionally, the picture, unfortunately, on the right is in many cases a reality. Multiple channels to interact with the customer, and on the other hand, multiple different backend systems, different product groups. And basically, each of these different product groups or backend systems have a unique connection to each specific device. And so you have to wire them for each additional channel. Oh, there's the mobile channel. Let's wire it again. There's this new kiosk. Let's do it again. So there's a lot of reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of repetition. And basically, there's no orchestration. And I guess the orchestration part is probably the most scary part, the fact there's duplication that is, expensive, expensive to build, expensive to maintain. It's very ad hoc by nature, but the fact that you cannot coordinate it will even probably make it more, close to impossible to really do service design and be able to kind of officially really manage that seamless customer journey. So hence, on the right side, there's the new picture where basically you have a bit of an orchestration architecture here in the middle that is exposing the core bank capabilities as a service. So like a web service or basically an API-driven type of architecture where the different channels can consume generic banking services, and there's a bit of orchestration and alignment and process management in the middle to make sure that the right content, the right functionality, the right data is distributed to the end customer, regardless of the device. Yeah. So it's easy. I think it's relatively easy to make a picture like this, and it's also very easy to make a statement like this in a webinar today. But what is the journey to go from today's reality, which is closer, I would say, to the left side on the screen? How can we do a phased approach where we gradually are moving into the reality of that Bank 2.0 future? So what we typically see is that most banks in the past have taken let's say, an inside-out approach. They had products, they had systems, and then they were basically pushing it to the channel. So you had to do it to the call center, then they had to do it to the web and internet banking, and now today they have to do it for mobile. So call center, internet banking, mobile banking, basically history is repeating itself, and we're still kind of pushing our products and our capabilities to a specific device or to a new channel that happens to be popular. And that's not a very sustainable approach, because basically you're just creating more and more of this kind of spaghetti code and duplication per channel. So a more fundamental approach is to say, let's wait for a minute and let's take a customer-centric approach, and let's start to think about, is it possible to create a customer experience layer in which the customer is really central? It's a customer-centric presentation or customer interaction layer, and this customer interaction layer can operate on any device, on a tablet, on a desktop, on a smartphone, on a kiosk. Basically everything that is digital and that has a screen, the user can utilize to interact with the bank. And within this customer experience layer, it's all about taking an outside-in perspective. So we're not thinking in product groups, or we're not thinking in backend systems. We're just basically thinking customer and customer objectives, customer goals, customer journey. So we have the flexibility here to do so. And then here in the middle, you see a diamond where you basically would like to have a mechanism where you can easily integrate into the different underlying silos and actually take relevant content, relevant data, relevant functionality out of these different siloed systems and then compose them into an easy to use, seamless customer journey. So that's a little bit of the most fundamental approach. It's not about technology. It's more about how can we create an initiative where in the next 5 years we can decouple the customer experience layer from the underlying silos, because these underlying systems and product groups, they won't go away. They will stay there. And that's a reality. These systems will stay there. And at the same time, these systems are basically blocking customer-centric innovation because of their nature. The fact that they are siloed. So by decoupling the presentation layer and by starting to innovate from the outside in, that's probably the most likely way to proceed and really become, let's say, more competitive and more customer-centric in this kind of experience economy. So one of the key building blocks, Jelmer, to kind of enable this, and some people that are familiar to Backbase are already know this topic, but the key problem with all these different channels is that they are monolithics, and they lack the flexibility. Everything is hard-coded based on the specific device. So hard-coded native mobile application, hard-coded internet banking application, hard-coded customer interactions within your call center. And creating a seamless customer journey and being personal and relevant to the end customer means that these kind of monolithic graphical user interfaces will not scale. You always need programmers. You cannot change it by business people. They are monolithic by nature, so you cannot combine them in multiple flexible formats. So the key thing here is that we have to go to a smaller entity, which we call widgets. And widgets are basically engagement building blocks. And inside a widget, you can basically compose everything: content, data, PFM functionality, intelligent calculators, simulation tools, chat, email communication, targeted messages from an analytic system, internet banking capabilities, CRM data. All these different ingredients that can actually contribute to a relevant experience can be composed and handled at a micro format, which is a widget. The great thing about these widgets, they are reusable. So you can reuse these little building blocks on multiple devices in your direct channels, but you can also reuse them to your front office employees as well in, let's say, a sales portal or a call center unified desktop approach. So it's all about how do we have building blocks and how can we reuse these building blocks across multiple channels, direct channels, indirect channels, and across different devices. To visualize that a little bit more, here you see a few examples just to make it a little bit more real and less abstract. But the idea is, of course, here multiple devices. They can be used by an agent, they can be used by an advisor or by an end customer in a direct model. And these different personas, they can actually consume multiple widgets within a specific layout. That can be a dashboard, that can be a mobile view, a tablet view, a springboard. Basic visualization is just a preference. But the key thing is that you can mix and match different functional building blocks and you can reuse them to multiple audiences. And you can also enable audiences to work together. So an end customer can trigger and start an enrollment process, and then an advisor can actually help them in the approval process. And you can have communication back and forward. So that's the widget model. And we believe that widgets are really essential to kind of create these cross-device, cross-channel seamless journeys, and not kind of not by duplicating code or multiplying code, but by actually going to a write once, run everywhere type of model. So maybe Jelmer, you can take over here a little bit and kind of get a little bit more on a perspective on how this could work.
Yeah, of course. Why we're moving to the Omni of the widget kind of architecture is really to move to the Bank 2.0 picture we showed in the beginning.
Yeah.
Since we have a widget that can be consumed across multiple channels with one kind of functionality, by default you are centralizing your customer around that widget and your functionality in that widget.
What is interesting about this picture, I guess, is that it's also explicitly not only about smartphones or websites or tablets, but it is really the opportunity now. If you truly talk about cross-channel or omni-channel, basically you're looking at a model where widgets can be reused in the branch or in the call center, on a kiosk or an ATM.
It's the same widget, and we're talking about one omni-channel customer experience. We don't talk about internet banking or mobile banking. It's the same platform and the same widget that can be reused.
So I guess then in a call center or a branch scenario, you probably would apply a few different rules, so like role-based permissions or business rules about what an agent can do on behalf of the customer, etc.
Yeah, for sure. And the same applies to, for example, mobile versus internet banking, where a widget shows different behavior on mobile devices because it has access to more functionality on that device.
So we probably need to have something like an intelligent orchestrator that can say how the widgets should behave, what the permissions for the widgets are, what functionalities are exposed, depending on the user, depending on the persona, or depending on the device, or depending on the context.
Yeah, depending on the customer or user, and of course that user is using a special channel with its own capabilities.
Yeah. Okay, so this is basically on the glass. This is really the innovation on the glass. It is what is presented on the screen to an end user. Then just below the glass, we need to have some very generic customer experience enablers. Imagine them to be core engines that really will help you to streamline the customer experience. So as an example, you need to have a strong content management architecture. Why? Because you need content in all these different customer journeys. You need them in all the different devices. So a centralized content management strategy and have generic reusable content is essential. Another element is how do you manage security?
Yeah.
So identity management. Who is the user? Is it an employee? Is it an agent? Is it a call center operator? Is it an end customer? Is it a preferred banking customer? Is it a business-to-business customer? What are their roles? What are their permissions?
Yeah, widgets are only as powerful as the platform below it. And I think we're visualizing here really the customer experience platform enablers to power those widgets and give them the power to work in that customer experience.
Yeah.
And they need that. The platform is so essential because then we can keep on innovating in those widgets, which is now pretty cool because they can run in a normal web app, but also in a native mobile app, for example.
Right.
But it's even cooler that now when Google Glass is coming up and people want to do banking in Google Glass, the widget should run there as well. And that's already possible. And that's the cool thing. And thanks to having that stable platform, you can focus your innovation in the widget and also bring that easier to cool new things. You can say, I'm the first bank that's active in Google Glass.
So if we look at this picture, we basically have to imagine this as centralized services like to handle security or to do notification or presentation or context awareness or integration to backend systems. The widgets can consume these generic engines whenever they need security permissions, when they need to do alerting, when they need to do targeting, when they need to integrate to a backend system. They can go to these engines and they ask the engine, give me content. Is this person allowed to do what? Those type of capabilities.
Yeah.
Clear.
Really the management platform for the widget.
Yeah. All right. So basically that kind of brings us to this picture. So what you see here is kind of summarizing it. There's the employee, there's the customer, there's a potential business partner. And here we see the innovation on the glass, the different channels, the web, the smartphone, the tablet, the branch, the call center, etc. So basically this is really the at the glass presentation layer. Then below that, we see the customer experience enablers, like the security engine, the content engine, the presentation engine to render it across multiple screen resolutions, mobile, non-mobile, contextually awareness, like location, GPS, the messaging and alerting, personalization, etc. So these are the generic engines that all the interactions with the widgets to the end customers across the different devices can utilize. And then at the bottom, it's all about how do we integrate. How do we integrate into analytics? How do we integrate into core banking systems? How do we integrate into analytical and operational CRM? How do we integrate into social networks? But basically, how do we connect into the enterprise and into the larger, I would say, web cloud-based world that can provide data or functionality?
Yeah, especially if you're moving away from multi-channel to cross or omni-channel, it's essential that if you start innovating on the glass, there's a central integration layer that really can be consumed by those widgets. Otherwise, there's no handover possible.
Yeah, clear. So just a pretty face on the screen is useless. It's nice, it's great, but it will not create that seamless customer experience. So you need to have the generic customer experience enablement capabilities. And of course, it's almost like go back to our triangle, where you really need to kind of make sure that your loosely coupled presentation layer in the end of the day is connected to the underlying siloed systems that are in the data center of the bank or that utilize stuff like Facebook, Google, etc.
Cloud services. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Great. So maybe what you've seen so far is actually a reality for some of our clients we work with at Backbase. So, for instance, this client, ABN AMRO Bank, it's a large retail bank in Western Europe, around 5 million active internet banking users. And what is really great here, this runs across multiple devices. There's a customer portal, there's an employee portal, and basically everything you see here on the screen are widgets. Marketing content, internet banking content, targeting content. So basically it's blending content and transactional functionality in a single customer experience. And it's doing this across any device and towards employees and customers from a single platform. And with that, basically customers can enroll, for instance, they can enroll online for a new product. So that whole enrollment process is visualized within widgets. And then once they enroll, we'll show you a few examples later on, basically it's forwarded to a bank employee who can actually approve the whole process, maybe modify the process and finalize it. So it's also kind of not only visualizing it to the different stakeholders, but it's also kind of creating and managing the underlying business processes to enable the customer and the bank employee to collaborate. It's almost like track and trace so they can follow each other. Another one is Deutsche Bank, a very similar story. We operate with Deutsche Bank in Europe in 6 different countries, both customer facing to the end customer, as well as to employee facing for people in the branch, in the call center, and in the mid office. But again, everything is modular, everything is widget based, and is blending data, content, functionality, and based on your permission and your role. Either I'm a customer, I'm a high net worth customer, I'm a retail customer, I'm an investor. Based on the role, the interface will adjust. It will present the most relevant elements to each different persona, and it will enable each customer to directly interact with the bank, depending on the security levels and their privileges. That was the first step. Let's move to the next one, the CMO CIO. I think we can keep this one slightly shorter. So one of the key challenges we see is that it's great to have this ambition to kind of create a seamless customer journey and basically the right data, the right time to the right place for the customer, and creating a seamless customer journey, personal and relevant, and basically this a la carte widget type of model where we can allow the customer to select the widgets that really fit their particular context or their particular lifestyle. So I think that was kind of covered initially, but the reality is that how do we create this and how do we typically enable a more seamless collaboration between the marketing and the business people on one end and the IT people on the other hand. And they typically, in most banks, they have different goals and different perspectives. So the IT perspective is very much like, okay, how can we leverage our existing IT infrastructure? How can we become more agile? How can we become a better IT partner towards our business sponsors? And how can we enable faster innovation on our current IT platforms? So that's kind of the IT perspective. It has to be secure, it has to be performant, and for most it is about these existing systems will not go away. So how can we get more value out of these systems, and how can we innovate faster with these type of systems? Then on the other hand, we see the business people, and especially the digital marketing professionals. They would like to work without IT. They would like to have more involvement. They would like to have faster time to market, and they basically would like to drive online sales, more marketing campaigns, increase online conversion, so basically onboarding, enrollment, origination, as well as driving self-service, moving away traffic from the more expensive channels where the cost per contact is higher, moving them more into a direct model, which is just more, from an economic point of view, more attractive. So the way to do that is going back to the original picture, and that kind of goes back to the customer experience layer, where what we see is that for most organizations it's essential to start to operate in a model where they can have two heartbeats. One is the existing IT system's heartbeat, and this heartbeat, the change capability in most organizations is relatively modest. The stability, the maintainability, those are the key performing indicators, and within the context of these traditional systems, it's hard to innovate, it's hard to be agile. So let's not rock the boat there, but let's kind of move to a second layer, the customer experience layer, where we can actually have fast innovation with strong focus on customer needs. So this kind of outside-in approach, where the customer experience layer basically is loosely coupled from the underlying systems. And the fact that it is loosely coupled will enable a faster secondary speed in the presentation layer. So by thinking in those two layers, you can now move faster in the decoupled presentation layer, and you can actually leave those core systems as they are. The key challenge with those core systems is to basically make sure that more and more you can expose them as a web service, or with an API, an application programming interface. We see that happening in the web. All these big web properties like Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, they provide not only a GUI, but they provide an API. So you can actually innovate on top of the Google API, or you can innovate on top of the Salesforce API. A very similar trend is happening within banking, where these core capabilities have to expose as a web service. So they will drive faster innovation on top of those web services. Great. All right. Maybe to summarize this a little bit is that, of course, there's the end customer. They would like to have that multi-channel experience. But what is critical is that how can we enable faster collaboration between business people that ideally have a graphical user interface to manage the customer experience, so they can go to a browser, they can log in, and they can really manage the customer experience without programming. So that's a major trend for the next few years. And this is not only in your public marketing website, but especially in internet banking, the closed, secure environment, and within mobile banking. How can you make sure that where you have the traffic with end customers, the vast majority of the traffic is within internet banking or with mobile banking? So behind the login in a secure environment. How can we capitalize on that traffic? And how can we enable business people directly create campaigns, sales and marketing activities directly within those closed applications? And in parallel, of course, how can we enable IT people to do this safely in a way that business people cannot break things, in a way that it is safe for the business people to do this, and at the same time, the system has a high availability and a close to 100% uptime guarantee towards the end customer. So maybe to zoom in a little bit to kind of summarize that, what you can imagine there is that at the bottom you need to kind of have the core IT capabilities like cross-device rendering, contextualization and personalization, security.
Quite the same as the services we saw in Omni-channel.
Totally.
The widget services.
They are the same. They are the same. So indeed, thanks for mentioning that. They are the same kind of customer experience enablers. They do security, content, integration, targeting, etc. And then on top of that, how can we enable the business people to go to a page designer, to do content management, to do targeting, to create intelligent forms, to utilize apps, all without programming, all without knowing any line of code, without IT support, really creating a nice collaboration between the IT people that manage and operate the platform and do the complex integration work, enabling the digital professionals to really create and manage and optimize the customer journey, all in a configurable graphical user interface. Great. So finally, a key insight here is that what we've seen is one of the key trends is that how do we actually enable IT and business to work in parallel? So what we typically see with IT, they have to go through a development and test and acceptance procedure, and this could take weeks, months, and sometimes it's really like once every 6 months. So typically the IT process of creating new functionality, going through a full test cycle, and then go live could take months. So that's the classic IT deployment cycle. And that cycle will not go away. It will stay there. Maybe with agile development methodologies, you're able to kind of make it faster, but the deployment cycle is always essential and it will stay there because there's complex logic, there's advanced IT infrastructure involved, and you need to deploy. But the interesting part is that you can innovate faster on top of that. And the innovation cycle you see here is not deployment, but publishing. So how can we enable business people to make changes directly within the mobile application or directly within the secure internet banking application? And how can we enable them to publish them any time of the day and also unpublish them so they can run campaigns, a Christmas campaign, a Valentine Day campaign. They can do this in a scheduled way and they can go live. Of course, there's workflow, there's approval, etc. There's preview, but basically they can go live any time of the day, giving the business, again, it's kind of those two different heartbeats. It's the IT heartbeat or the underlying core systems heartbeat with a more longer deployment cycle versus the digital marketing heartbeat that has to make changes on a daily basis. So far about the CMO and CIO type of collaboration. And basically, in order to innovate in this digital era, having a nice and clean organization model where those different stakeholders and those different teams can work together and actually reinforce each other is essential. Having IT and marketing in different islands or in different organization groups and only meeting occasionally probably is a recipe for failure. Every modern digital company like Facebook, Apple, etc., they are blending these disciplines in multidisciplinary teams. And for banks to be competitive, it's very likely that you have to follow a very similar model where digital marketing professionals, IT specialists, security people, integration specialists work in multidisciplinary teams and create a more agile operational model.
Yes, and I think if we talk about omni-channel and we talk about CMO, CIO collaboration, it's already two great topics for 2014. We felt coming with only two topics in the webinar was not enough for today, so we have two more points we want to stress. So if you're really ambitious, move to omni-channel, improve your IT business alignment, and then move to the third topic, improve relevance for your customers.
Yeah, so what's Relevance, Jelmer?
Relevance is providing me with the tools and the information at the right time. And that's really my information. And a lot of financial websites are still the same whenever I log in, or you log in, or my mother logs in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because we are three different persons, we are three different stages in our lives, and I feel this should be more personal.
Okay, so it's like a one size fits all.
Most banks are one size fits all, and I want to be my size fits me.
Yeah, clear. Okay, so I think last year's we all have seen the PFM players with safe to spend, spend analysis, financial fitness. So that's I think a great example. This trend of course will continue, but there's a little bit more.
Yeah, of course we had PFM, and PFM by default is personal because it's my financial transactions. But PFM still lives in a separate tab or a separate app. It's not integrated in the banking experience. And banks start to improve that. They also start creating smart ads, as you see on the screen here, that are more integrated in the banking platform. And instead of just promoting a car loan, it says, "Hi Jelmer," so it's already personal. They include some of my context information, like my transaction details. And that's further improving. But still, PFM, smart ads is kind of 2013.
Clear. However, what is still important here is that PFM is valuable and also targeting is extremely valuable. But I think instead of having it as a mega apps kind of running there as a separate tab or a separate website, basically embedding those kind of financial advisory capabilities or intelligent targeting as part of the customer journey. So not like it's these big monolithic PFM application, but like smart PFM capabilities that are almost like embedded. Probably that's way more meaningful.
Creating that one banking experience. And I think that's why Simple and Moven are winning customers' hearts and minds. For them, it's not PFM is one extra app or one extra tab. PFM is the advisory tool, is one integrated piece of the complete offering.
Yeah.
And creating that round integrated solution is winning at this moment.
So just checking the PFM checkbox probably won't do it. We see low PFM adoption with some of the mega banks. If PFM is not really embedded, the adoption and the impact is very, very disappointing. So PFM is a great concept, but we have to use it in a more intelligent, more smart way more modular, way more embedded within the overall customer journey flow. All right, then we'd like to kind of discuss a little bit about the Amazon example. So how can we kind of bring Amazon style of e-commerce to banking? Because we believe that in the next few years we can learn a lot from retail and how retail or telcos are actually treating their customers online. And we would like to kind of discuss this example a little bit with you to kind of get some inspiration for how can we translate these kind of Amazon best practices into banking.
Yeah, and of course we use Amazon quite a lot. And why is that? Because they're doing pretty well. They're doing pretty well in creating that personal and relevant environment.
Okay, I believe so, Jelmer. What's happening here on the screen? This is you. It says, "Hello, Jelmer."
Yeah, and there's only one problem. They're recommending the dress shops. That's kind of weird.
That's weird.
Yeah, but
maybe you have a different.
Somebody else is using my account, maybe.
Okay,
No, but especially the new for you section here at the bottom is, of course, tailored to me. A lean UX book, John Grisham, I like to read that. Dale Brown, relevant books. So they're promoting me with relevant efforts over the billion products they can offer me.
Great.
And then I start to explore that, of course. So the next step, really the step one, I can start browsing my recommended books. It's really recommended for me. I see the latest David Baldacci novel, and apparently I really like him because all the 3 books there are for him. And I'm very much likely to start buying that book, so probably I will click one of them.
So really, because you bought many books already of this author, and now they know your habits and they follow you. Great. All right, next one.
And then the buy is very simple. So I open that book, move to step 2, and I really like this. Buy now with one click.
Yeah, great.
And then get it instantly to deliver to my Kindle. So I don't have to wait. Now it's only 2 days when I get it with the postal delivery, but I have now the Kindle, I have the electronic device, instant satisfaction. Within 1 minute, I can read and start doing that.
One click buy, overnight delivery, or in this case, even
instant delivery,
digital instant delivery. That's kind of the model. So a relevant offer to you, really personal. Hey, Jelmer, these are the books you like. You indeed feel that, hey, this is indeed tempting. And the process
I can buy that instantly. Right. And only one click. I don't have to fill in credit card details.
Awesome.
But then if something goes wrong or if I order something offline, I can also track my orders.
Right.
And that's something I very much like, especially with UPS and all. Did Amazon send it away? Is it going to be in time there for the holidays? Just giving insights, what the status of my orders, what are my open digital orders for my pre-orders, for example, the things I still have to receive. Insight, no trouble, and always know what the status is.
Great. So, what does this mean for banking?
Now, I think banks should adopt almost the same model, and they're doing that, and we're getting very close. So step one is really explore that step, creating a personal and relevant offer.
So assume this offer is based on my behavior, whatever my CRM data, my next best offer from the analytical CRM, but basically, apparently, I'm in the mood for a mortgage. So this is not just a random screen that we show to everybody. This is unique to me as a visitor, and it knows that it has a prediction that mortgages might be the right value proposition.
Probably I came to this landing page via Google with a certain keyword, where I was looking for mortgage rates or rates, short rates, loan calculators, and I got here.
So you get the teaser, you get the calculator,
and I can start exploring the app. Of course, this is different than a book, so I need that calculator, I need some financial advice.
Okay, so you think, great, you log in, boom, now you're logged in.
And then buy it.
Great, but you log in and basically it will pre-fill your form. That's nice.
That's getting closer to that Amazon one-click. I can, of course, no bank can offer that one-click order functionality. That's compliance regulations. That's not what's going to happen. But just helping smoothen out that process is going to be key. Offering pre-fill if I'm logged in. Offering pre-fill if I'm a known customer. That's essential.
Okay, so of course it's not one click, but we try to kind of create simple forms, a minimum amount of steps, a lot of pre-fill as much as possible to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then we can move to step 3. I like my Amazon tracking and my UPS tracking. I can also track my car loan application. And this is still something I wish with most banks. They do the smart targeting on the homepage. They offer me that kind of form, and sometimes with pre-fill, just letting me know what the status is, especially when it goes to the back office. Where does it live? Who is approving what? Does it need my input or the bank input? Yeah. That's going to be essential. And also to get closer to that overnight delivery kind of feel. If I see it already moving from status submitted to approved before it's finalized, I'm already more happy as a customer.
Yeah, I guess you get an alert, you get a notification. So basically, it's not like this black box,
And I think this is the next step banks have to make. So my application tracking, very clear, see the documents, see the input, see the conversations.
So it's like the UPS parcel tracking, it's like the Amazon order status. We have to give full transparency to the customers, where the order is, etc. Great.
And this is, of course, key and only possible when we move to that omni-channel view.
Yeah.
These systems need to be integrated.
Yeah, totally. Okay, next one. The next topic is, of course, next to this kind of targeting and cross and upsell and then onboarding kind of stuff. We also expect that we'll see a little bit more intelligent offers directly within the context of internet banking. So we call this targeted mobile commerce. What you see here is a mobile banking account. You go in there and basically you just made a purchase for an airline, and based on that, in the same app, if you would go to the built-in buy section or marketplace, it actually will give you relevant product promotions based on your spending behavior. Maybe a little bit spooky in some countries, but basically what you can do here is you can offer coupons, loyalty, discounts, special targeted promotions, and really create a more of an e-commerce environment directly within the internet banking experience. And actually enabling then also the one-click buy, because basically the mobile phone is becoming the digital wallet. Within the digital wallet, people frequently interact with the bank, so it's a great place to actually work with loyalty cards, coupons, offering, physical product ordering. We expect to see a little bit more of e-commerce directly embedded within internet banking.
Relevant e-commerce.
Clear.
That's the key. And relevant e-commerce can, of course, be linked to past transactions, or if we continue in these slides, you can also link that to contextual information, like, for example, locations.
Yeah.
If I have my bank app installed on my phone and I'm walking through a busy shopping street and I get a ping notification saying, hey, we see you're close to the Apple store. By the way, we have a €5 cashback on any Apple product.
Yeah,
that would be very great for the merchant. Mm-hmm. And also I will feel more related to my bank.
Yeah, cool. Next trend. We're running out of time, so we're going to speed up a little bit. We're very excited about Apple and iBeacons. A lot of people say that Apple maybe is slowing down on innovation, but this potentially could be big. The key thing is that already with iOS 7, they have a concept of iBeacon. So Jelmer, what is the beacon stuff?
Yeah, apparently beacon is just a green block, but actually what it does, it transmits a very low-fi signal, almost like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, but it doesn't touch your battery that much, so every device can pick it up. And then it's much about location.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, retailers can place multiple beacons in their shop. And of course, they can see, hey, I have people in my shop, and send you then a general alert on, hey, welcome in my shop. We have 20% off shoes. Or they can also do it per rack, for example, seeing that you first browse to your shirts and then you look at very nice suits, then they can target more relevant offers to that one.
Awesome. So, of course, we already had GPS, like geolocation,
Yeah.
GPS location, which is kind of, not very accurate.
Now they can see that you're in a certain street.
In a certain street, okay. But this will bring it if we have these beacons in physical facilities, like in retail stores, like the Apple store, the telco store, the bookstore, the supermarket, the retail store, then we can actually now utilize those beacons to start to interact with your smartphone, which is in your pocket or in your purse.
Yeah, and it starts interacting, can send you personalized offers when you opt in, of course, because we're not going to spam anyone.
Yeah.
But then you can also involve that, not only to do proximity marketing, but also work with coupons. Sending you the coupon at the right time, and even merging that into contactless payments.
But even in the banking context, I mentioned I would walk into the branch, and basically I'm just one unique individual out of the 5 million retail customers. They won't know me, right?
No.
So just with my smartphone in my pocket, I enter to the desk, and they probably would say hello Jelmer or hello Jouk.
Yeah, the personalization is great, and that's not only pushing to you, it's also pushing some of your information to the desk
device,
clerk.
so the clerk will see, hey, great.
And they can offer you, now in the Nescafe shop, hey, this is your favorite brand of coffee. And in the bank, they can say, hey, Mr. Pleiter, nice to see you again. Long time since you've been here.
So this is like this ultimate concierge service where they really know you, they know your preferences, or at least the device can already inform them on an intelligent way to make it more personal on a nice scale.
It's a very nice way of blending offline and online into one seamless customer experience. Because remember, Omni-channel, it's only as powerful as the weakest link.
Yeah.
And if this can help to improve that complete customer journey, also bring offline, like the branch and the web shops, into the online customer interactions, that's great.
Super. So it's not only Apple. People like Qualcomm, PayPal, there's this huge race going on right now where people actually are in this race to kind of get beacons installed. So our prediction is that this year already, but especially in the next 3 years, retail is going to change with all these different beacons. They are approaching a cost structure where a unique beacon station is affordable. So we're going to see a lot more of this going to happen in basically any retail concept. That also means in retail banking, in the branch. It will make a very nice interaction possible between the branch channel and the smartphone channel. Another example of omni-channel in a certain way.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Let's go to the next one. The key thing here is, of course, once we know that, this will kind of also help us kind of to do more intelligent targeting. So this is all about how do we create smart campaigns. And in the past, our major source of information about the customer was the CRM data, like, the customer relationship management system. But now we have more. We have way more data points we can utilize. So we can, for instance, take self-personalization. The customer will customize their desktop or their tablet or their smartphone. They will select the widgets they prefer to use most frequently. They can set preferences for the device or for the widgets themselves. So they will actually educate the system and customize it to their own unique needs. We can do behavior tracking. We can see where they are. We can understand all the movements, the gesture movements, the mouse movements, the click behavior, the sources, the referral pages. Everything is digital. Everything is trackable. Next to that, we have context, GPS, the beacon, the device. We can use those data points. And of course, we have the social graph like Facebook and LinkedIn. All new digital data points that can be utilized and that can be aggregated into a meta customer profile on which we can do targeting. So that's what you see here a little bit on the screen. So what we expect is to see, based on all these different data points, the social data, the contextual data, etc., that we'll see more of a need and a possibility, basically a huge opportunity to apply intelligent campaigns, smart targeting, based on customer CRM data, but also based on contextual or session data or live events, and then target the relevant content, the relevant instructions, the relevant offers, the relevant promotions to the right customer within the right device.
Creating the personal and relevant experience, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Finally, just to stay in time, the final topic is experiments. So, Jelmer, what about experiments?
Yeah, I think banks, if they want to implement a successful omni-channel strategy, if they want to improve the CMO/CI collaboration, and if they want to start driving on, for example, some cool new technology like beacons, they have to open up to experiment.
Yeah.
And one thing with experiments, you have to fail, learn, and repeat. Really, that lean startup kind of metaphor, set goals, reach, repeat, that kind of attitude, that's essential in banking.
So this diagram, people you see here on the screen, is a concept created by Eric Rice. Eric is one of those kind of entrepreneurial guys that is really focusing on startups and how startups kind of should find the right business model and how they should kind of quickly innovate, fail, and learn from their failure to get it right. So he came up with this model and basically say, okay, how do we quickly build something? Then how do we measure the impact on real customer feedback, and then basically learn from the insights, and then of course the cycle is repeating itself.
Yeah, and it's also one thing he does very well. You have to bring something to the customer quickly without getting to that perfect utopia world most people aim for. And I think that's something that's still holding some banks back in their innovation cycles, that they don't want to be the first, because apparently that's scary. And if they do something, they want to do it perfect. And I
Mm-hmm.
can understand that, because banking is about financial data, it's something secure, and you have to take it into account. But experimenting with new technology like a very cool PFM widget, or experimenting how beacon technology can work in some of your branches. Start small, improve, learn before you go deeper.
But then also, I guess it's not so easy to do this kind of, let's say, in your core internet banking environment, or those kind of huge business critical operations where there's huge IT dependency. I guess it's easier than to innovate and let's do a small new mobile or a new tablet application, or uh, let's do a bit of in the surroundings.
Yeah, for sure. But what we see, if you move to that widget model, you can start replacing and matching widgets in the new model. And I think that's already getting closer. They
Okay.
don't do a revamp of your whole environment, but introduce one or two new widgets with functionality targeted towards special segments that are open for experiments and new trying out new technology innovations.
Okay, so fair enough. So probably for this kind of quick innovation, fail fast, learn fast, and then get it right. I guess we can do it kind of in the surroundings, like let's do a mini app, or let's do a landing page, or let's do a campaign. So the remote stuff on the surroundings. But we also can do this in the core of our internet and our mobile banking strategy by just innovating, not with the full app, but by innovating at widget level.
On widget level, for example, the beacon technology, start experimenting with that right now.
Yeah.
Google Glass, start experimenting in an incubator model with widgets to a small target audience.
Right. Okay. So basically, with the widgets, you have all these kind of engagement building blocks. It's almost like Lego. You can do mini apps, you can do targeted offers, you can do new insights, you can innovate with advisory tools, you can innovate in origination, you can innovate with real-time communication between the different channels. There's plenty of space where you can innovate, and by just kind of creating the right widgets, you can actually try, learn, get new insights, and basically move from there. We prepared a little demo, but I think we're gonna skip that for today. The key thing here is that within this kind of graphical design environment, you can quickly create visually new campaigns, new calculators, so you can build fast. You can do it for desktop, you can do it for smartphone. You can define targeting rules. You can see the insights with integrated analytics. So basically, really, this helps you to kind of create something, to publish something, to run tests, get the data, insights, the analytics to see how things are performing, and then from there you basically get a closed loop marketing cycle where you experiment, you get the insights, you learn, and you improve. Okay, cool. Let's go to the Q&A.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about four big topics today, the big trends for 2014. You can ask your questions in the GoToMeeting question panel, and also use the Twitter hashtag Backbase to ask your questions. And of course, as you know, the slides will become available online, and also the recording of this webinar will be shared within 48 hours. So don't worry if you missed something or joined late, everything is available. Yeah, one of the first questions we got, and I think that's quite an interesting question, is that indeed some thought leaders in the past few months they have made the case that actually banks should not bother with customer experience. Banks should just focus on the basics, the plumbing, the financial transactions, open up an API, and then let new startups just use their APIs, and the startups can worry about the customer experience. Is that the future of banking?
That is definitely one part of the future of banking, where people say, the bank will become like, let's say, more of a factory, a data center running in the background. It's providing custody services, treasury services, payment services, but basically it will become let's say, a bit of a commodity engine, just like an SMS gateway or an email server, just doing payments. But that is definitely a model. I'm not sure how viable, how attractive the model is, but it is a model. But if you move out of the customer experience, basically there's no differentiation. So I think if you give over and you allow people like Apple with their digital wallet, or people like Google or telcos or whomever to control the customer relationship, and especially if you allow them to control the day-to-day interactions via a specific device, then I think you are out of the game and you're going to definitely lose on margin. So owning the customer relationship and owning the frequency of customer interactions is essential, at least to kind of get a very kind of to differentiate the brand, to differentiate the service, and to optimize the margin. You see it with Google, the people that, or with Apple or with Samsung, the people that own the customer interaction, they win the game. So I'm kind of skeptical. Of course, banks need to go into an API model, but if you just do APIs, just solely APIs, I think, and then exposing that APIs to third parties, maybe you could have a risk-reward model. Maybe you can have a rev share and make it successful and make it a successful business model.
But the first focus should be banks. You need to improve the customer experience. Start taking Omni-channel.
Well, I think it's a choice. I think in the past, people were really interacting with the end customer in the branch. You know the people. You had a conversation. You could do a human-to-human conversation. You could do a cross and upsell. But now these interactions become more and more digital. And if you do not own these digital interactions and you're not on the screen, you basically are going to lose the customer relationship.
Yeah, sure. We talked about omni-channel, we talked about mobile, online, branch office, call centers, but we forgot one of the big channels, of course, there, ATMs.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, especially in emerging markets, they basically can leapfrog. They can take the latest ATM technology. And the good news is that all these ATM machines are extremely powerful, touch screens, fully equipped with modern browsers. So basically, they are an ATM with a big iPad screen on top of the device. So you can move a lot of these kind of customer interaction models that you have for your desktop or even for your tablet. You can basically remove them almost seamlessly on your ATM device as well.
So ATMs is also one of the essential channels, because I think I use an ATM twice a week. I expect the same experience there as I get on my mobile device.
Yeah, it's possible, but there's one thing, we discussed about each device has its own unique characteristics and people have specific behavior and preferences per device. So I think, I don't expect, but you can do more with the ATM. You can reuse a lot of the stuff, but apparently, of course, the ATM has probably a slightly different user interaction pattern than a smartphone versus your desktop.
I just want to get my money out quickly.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah, sure. And this whole customer experience platform we talked about and introduced, and it's getting closer to a cloud model, I assume. And what impact does cloud have on banking?
Cloud is going to have a big impact. Of course, the mega banks probably still prefer to operate directly within their own data centers, but more and more you see kind of standardized cloud-based offerings, which not only provide banking capabilities, but also the traditional banking stuff will move into the cloud. The next-gen banking stuff is already in the cloud, like peer-to-peer lending, peer-to-peer payments, PFM. All that stuff is pretty much cloud-based. So in the end of the day, I think a lot will move into the cloud, but basically where you do the hosting or where the thing runs is basically also kind of irrelevant, because the game changer is how can you utilize and how can you combine all these assets within a screen. So basically, we don't care if it comes from the cloud or it comes from a data center, as long as you have the possibility to combine these different assets into a seamless customer experience.
And the most important building blocks introduced in this webinar are widgets. And in the Q&A, we got quite a lot of questions about widgets.
Yeah.
And most of them are about mobile.
Yeah.
How do you see widgets and mobile work together? Because I assume widgets are responsive design, but that's different than a native app, or how does that work?
Yeah, the great thing about, the key assumption is that most banks already have some sort of a mobile strategy, and they do have mobile apps. So within that particular context, you can really benefit from the concept of an embedded widget. So you keep utilizing your existing native applications, but within these native applications, you can create HTML views or HTML islands. And then within those HTML islands, you can basically run anything. You can run the widget. The widget is created in HTML5, which is the future of mobile application development in general. But these HTML5 widgets, they are responsive, so they are optimized for the small screen, and you won't notice from a performance point of view. You will not notice the difference between the native experience and the hybrid HTML experience.
So performance is not a problem?
Performance, if you do it wrong, it's a huge problem. Because especially HTML, you need to do the loading, you need to do the HTML loading, there's extra capacity, etc. So you will have a bit of that loading diagram in the screen, and that's extremely annoying because people would like to have it instantly. Today there are new technologies, and Backbase is one of them, where you can actually have smart compilation of your HTML assets directly within the smartphone application. So basically, you only have data communication between the device and the HTML widgets and a specific server element. Resulting in an ultra-fast distribution model.
Very good. And that also has impact on security, I assume, an important topic for banks.
Of course, the security, you should never interfere with the security. So whatever security infrastructure is there, two-factor authentication, secure encryption, safe backend services that are fully protected, permission management, all of that will stay in place, and the widget model will not interfere. The widget model only will obey to the security governance systems that are already in place. So widgets are not changing that. Widgets will just play nicely within that overall security governance model.
Very clear. Of course, we're already over time, so I move to the final questions. If we did not answer your question in this Q&A, don't worry, we have your questions on file, and we will reach out to you in a personal manner via email in the coming days. Yeah, the final question that was asked was, and asked multiple times actually, was about organizational structure.
Yeah.
Banks are already organized in silos, the different product groups responsible for design, online, and mobile. If we now need to improve and need to move to that omni-channel customer experience, who in the organization is going to take charge of that?
It really varies. We've seen banks where we have extremely innovative CIOs, and these CIOs, they are really a true counterpart to the CMO, and actually those two people work together. And eventually that is really resulting in more cross-functional teams where people out of the marketing organization, and especially the digital marketing organization, were moved to a single facility to work with engineers, really startup style. It's still very hard for banks. It's still very difficult to kind of create these multidisciplinary teams. But if you look at innovation in Silicon Valley, if you look at innovation at the winners in the internet and mobile space, that is the model. So banks have to follow that. If you stay within your one side, you have your marketing tower, and then in the next city you have your IT tower, and there's a weekly call, it won't fly. It definitely won't fly. So one thing we've seen working is multidisciplinary teams. Another thing we've been working is the model we showed you, where there's this nice separation of concern where the IT organization can really become an enabler. They can create web services, so they actually expose more and more of the banking logic as an API, as a platform service. So you can innovate faster on top of that. So you see almost multiple levels of IT systems, really the core systems, and then a flexible API layer, which enables super fast innovation in the presentation layer. So that's 3 layers. The super fast presentation layer with widgets, then the faster integration architecture, exposing stuff as an API, and then the underlying core system. That 3-layer type of architecture is not there overnight, but with proper IT governance and with a strong IT vision and supervision, within a couple of months, years, you can move in that direction. And each project you do will contribute to that flexible architecture. So that's another way where you have a 3-year IT roadmap that is moving into IT as an enabler, cleaning up the architecture, exposing stuff so you can enable faster innovation. And then in the top layer, you can have these multidisciplinary teams, and you can have mobile developers and widget developers that can go significantly faster, and that can also, to Jelmer's point, do the, let's say, lean startup type of work style, the different skill sets, the different experts in one team, get a new idea, try it, get a few insights, and then basically that kind of ongoing lean startup type of learning cycle.
Clear. So organizational structure either move to the lean startup model, the working in multidisciplinary teams, or really introducing a system that you can collaborate immediately in the user experience.
Yeah, you have to do both, because in the end of the day, we can have a big fantasy about innovation and go fast and on the screen innovation, but if the IT organization is not there, if the APIs are not there, and if the IT collaboration model is not there, it's pretty much dead on arrival. So to have a flexible, pragmatic partnership where IT and marketing don't fight, or are in a sort of kind of silent model, that they can have a clear roadmap of expectations. If you do that, if you just put a clear vision on that for the next 3 years, then every 6 months the capabilities are better, because there are more web services, you create more widgets, you can have more flexibility in your management layer, and then you really see results. But if you continue to take channels or apps as different silos and you don't really solve the root cause, then it's basically just you continue with the siloed approach, which in some cases is tempting, but it's even creating more code and it's creating more slowness in the end of the day.
Clear. Thank you very much, Jouk. Thank you very much, all you, for attending and sticking with us for over the hour. It was great numbers at the first webinar of 2014. We're repeating this at the beginning of March together with Roger Preferelli, the author of Reinventing Financial Services, and you're all going to get an invite for that webinar, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.